Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're so glad you're here. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com, and today we're sharing our top 5 tips on how to manage those garden weeds. The weeds in the garden can be very troublesome, and it's one of those jobs that a lot of people don't really like doing. So I'm hoping by the end of this video you will be confident in tackling those weeds. Let's get started. The first tip we're going to discuss today is covering. It's really important that you keep that soil covered. Anytime the soil is left exposed to the outer elements, whether it's sun, rain, or wind, or anything else, it causes that soil to become rock hard, which then in turn makes it very difficult to remove the weeds from the garden. So it's vitally important that you keep that soil covered, because by covering the soil, that soil is going to stay nice and moist and workable. So when you go to pull that weed out of the garden, it comes up as easily as possible. Now you're still going to have some stubborn weeds, and that's okay. But the point is that overall, most of the weeds should come out much more easy. Here on the channel, we advocate the Back to Eden garden method, and I've done a couple different videos on this. And what we do with the Back to Eden garden is we cover the soil with wood chips. These are untreated wood chips, and this is a great way to keep that soil covered so it's moist and workable. You can find wood chips through your local electric company, a tree service. These are some good places to get started. Or you can find them from a local landscaping company. Just make sure that you get them untreated. By putting the wood chips on your garden in the fall, this will make it so much easier in the spring when it comes to planting, harvesting, and of course, weeding. If you don't have wood chips available in your area, you can always use straw. That's another great alternative, and you can usually find straw almost anywhere. Consistency is the next key in keeping our garden well weeded. What do I mean by that? Well, I've always found it really helpful if I pick a time every single day, or at least every couple of days, to get out in my garden and weed. So if you're a morning person, tackle it first thing before anything else gets rolling in your day. That way it's done and taken care of. If you're more of an evening person, maybe try doing it in the evening as the sun starts to go down and things start cooling off. And just pick a consistent time each day, like I said, or every couple of days, and get out there and weed your garden. And then try to commit to a specific amount of time. If weeding is your least favorite chore and you really drag your feet to get it done, start by just trying to commit to weeding for 5 minutes every day or every couple of days, and start there. And then maybe you can work your way up to 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day. But the key is consistency, and sometimes what I do to help get myself motivated is I will literally set a timer. Most people that have a smartphone have timers right on their phone, so you can use it this way, or you can use a good old-fashioned kitchen timer. Set the timer and weed until the timer goes off. So it may be a little bit hard the first couple times you do it, but I promise you, once you get used to weeding for this set amount of time every day or every couple of days, that 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes will go very quickly, and you'll start to see the benefits in your garden. If you're really having a hard time getting through that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes of weeding, maybe try to make it fun. You can always play some music or listen to an audiobook with your headphones. This will make the time go a lot faster. The third tip for keeping our weeds under control is incentives. It's always helpful to build in some incentives to get a job done, especially again if it's one of those jobs that we just drag our feet to get done. In this case with weeding, a great incentive is chickens. So if you have chickens, you can always weed your garden and then give those weeds to the chickens for food. Not only will this save on your feed budget, but it will make them so happy to get something fresh and green, and then it's giving you that extra motivation to get those weeds out of your garden to give to the chickens. Now, if you don't have chickens, maybe you have a neighbor or a friend or someone in your family that has chickens, they may benefit from your weeds. So you can collect the weeds at the end of the week and drop it off at their house, and they will probably be more than grateful to receive the weeds because, again, it'll help save on their feed budget. Another great incentive to weeding is composting. Sometimes you can throw your weeds in the compost, although you don't want to throw too much in your compost because it will offset the balance of nitrogen, but you can always add some in your compost or start a compost weed pile at the edge of your property or in the woods, and that will turn into rich, dark, dense soil, and you could eventually use that later in your garden. And the last incentive, and probably the most obvious, is your garden is going to benefit from your weeding. So if anything, think about how beautiful your garden will look without any weeds in it. Think about your plants, your vegetables and your fruits that you have growing in the garden. They're going to be under a lot less stress, not having to compete with all those weeds in the garden. The fourth tip is getting the family involved. It's always so much better if you can get other family members or people to help you tackle a chore. The more hands involved, the less time it will take to get that chore done. So ask your family, get the kiddos involved. Kids love helping, especially at really young ages, so encourage that. Get them in there to get their hands dirty, and they'll love spending the time with you as well. And the last tip I have for you today, I think is probably one of the most important tips I can share with you, is drop the perfectionism. You will never ever have a weed-free garden unless you spray with pesticides. Here on this channel, we advocate that you don't use any type of chemical sprays on your garden because that affects the quality of your food. So I have learned to just come to terms with the fact that my garden is never going to be weed-free. There will always be a weed somewhere. The key is just keeping them under control so they're not taking over your fruits and your vegetables. We don't want our fruits and vegetables to become stressed, so making sure the weeds are taken care of around the plants is the most important thing. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you feel confident in tackling those weeds in your garden. Be sure to also head over to morningchores.com where you'll find all kinds of information on homesteading, gardening, DIY, and much, much more. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.